This is our project on the digestive system by Doug, Charlie, Tyler, Costa, and Justin.
The basic function of the digestive system is the digestion of food and absorption of necessary nutrients. The digestive system allows the body to absorb nutrients from the food we consume in order to maintain homeostasis and run cellular respiration. The food goes through a series of destinations in order to achieve the goal of digestion and absorption.
The pathway through the digestive system. On the left side, it shows that we first start off with food, then enters our mouth, and then it goes through the esophagus and down into the stomach. Then enters the small intestine, which has three parts: the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum, and then enters the colon, then the rectum, and then the anus, and then it exits our body. The digestive tract is very long, as it is 8 to 10 meters long, and the digestive tract has a lot of surface area due to how long the digestive tract really is. And there's also other components that create more surface area. And this is very important because surface area is necessary for digestion and absorption. And the body has voluntary control of the mouth and the anus. Before we go in depth on the different parts of the digestive system, we will discuss the enzymes and compounds which are both important for digestion and absorption. In the mouth, there's salivary amylase, which is an enzyme produced by salivary glands, and its substrate is starch. Its products are disaccharides and monosaccharides if possible. In the stomach, there's pepsin, which is an enzyme produced by the gastric chief cells. Its substrate is protein, and it produces amino acids and peptides. Pepsinogen is a compound and an inactive form of pepsin. Its source are gastric chief cells, and its reactant is hydrochloric acid, and it produces pepsin. Hydrochloric acid is a compound which is produced by the parietal cells, and its reactant is pepsinogen, and its product is pepsin. Mucus is a compound and source of the mucous cells, and it forms a protective wall for the stomach. And this is very important because it protects the stomach from digesting itself. Lastly, there is intrinsic factor, which is a compound, and its source is the parietal cells, and it transports and absorbs vitamin B12, which is very important for the body. There are also enzymes and compounds in the duodenum. For example, there's amylase, which is an enzyme which is produced by the pancreas, and its substrate is starch, and its product is maltose. Lipase is an enzyme, and its source is the pancreas. Its substrate are lipids, and it produces fatty acids and glycerol. Trypsin is an enzyme, and its source is the pancreas, and its substrate is protein, and it produces peptides and amino acids. Trypsinogen is a compound. Its source is the pancreas, and its reactant is enterokinase, and its product is trypsin. Bile is a compound which its source is a liver, however it's stored in the gallbladder, and the reactant is lipids, and it produces fatty acids in meat cells. Bicarbonate is a compound which is produced by epithelial cells, and it reacts with high pH and stomach acid, and it produces neutral pH. The digestive tract begins with the mouth. The mouth has teeth which helps chew down food, which creates more surface area. Surface area is very important for digestion and absorption. In addition, there's also saliva, which helps break down carbohydrates. Within saliva, the enzyme amylase is present, which helps break down carbohydrates. As said before, amylase is produced by the salivary glands. Its substrate is starch, and its products are disaccharides and monosaccharides if possible.
So, after the food has been consumed by the mouth, it travels down to the stomach through the esophagus. The stomach is the middle of the digestive system and is located in the left side of the upper abdomen. The stomach acts as a container-like organ, which is responsible for holding food while it slowly begins mixing with enzymes which begin breaking it down even further. Gastrin is a hormone that can be found in the walls of the stomach, which secrete gastric juices that include hydrochloric acid and pepsin. Hydrochloric acid is found mixed with the juices which break down food. Pepsinogen, which is a compound, is an inactive form of pepsin, which requires hydrochloric acid to activate and produce pepsin. This is largely due to the fact that if pepsin was released directly by the gastric chief cells, it would be shut down by the hydrochloric acid before being turned into an amino acid or peptide. Another important compound found in the stomach is mucus, which is produced by the mucus cells. Mucus in the stomach forms a wall inside the stomach that prevents digestion of the stomach itself.
Duodenum is located inside of the small intestine, which forms a C shape. It measures from 8 to 10 inches long. Partially digested chyme from the stomach travels into the duodenum, and secretin is released once the chyme enters the duodenum. Secretin is a hormone which triggers the release of digestive juices inside of the stomach, and the majority of digestion occurs in the duodenum. The duodenum has hormones, fluids, enzymes, and compounds that are present which contribute to chemical digestion.
There are two main hormones involved with digestion: gastrin and secretin. Gastrin is located in the stomach. Gastrin helps with gastric mucosal growth, and gastrin also helps with gastric motility. Secretion of hydrochloric acid is one of the functions of gastrin. Secretin is located in the duodenum. The functions of secretin are regulating gastric acid, the secretion of bicarbonate, and secretin also helps stimulate pancreatic fluid.
After the chyme passes the duodenum, it enters the jejunum and the ileum. The jejunum and ileum are located in the lower half of the small intestine. The jejunum completes 90% of absorption as it absorbs carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Proteins and carbohydrates are absorbed very quickly as they are absorbed through the blood capillaries located in the villi. However, for dietary fats, it's much more complicated. Dietary fats are absorbed in the lacteal, which are lymphatic capillaries located in the villi. Leftover fats are stored in the adipose tissue. In the ileum, bile acids, water, and fat-soluble vitamins are absorbed, such as vitamin D, A, K, and E. Vitamin B12 is also absorbed in the ileum. The vitamins are absorbed by the lymph vessels and make their way into the bloodstream. Vitamin K is especially important as it helps with blood clotting and helps heal wounds.
The villi and microvilli play an important role in absorption. There are microvilli on the villi, which help increase the surface area available for absorption. The epithelium is a thin single layer which helps food get absorbed quickly. The brush border secretes enzymes such as peptidase, which help break down peptide molecules into amino acids. Lastly, chylomicrons transport lipids from the villi into the lacteals. The liver has multiple functions. The first function of the liver is creating bile. Bile helps excrete waste products. The liver excretes hormones and drugs and cholesterol. The liver also helps regulate the chemical levels in blood. The last function of the liver is detoxifying chemicals and drugs.
The gallbladder is a small pouch that is located under the liver. It contains bile that is squeezed into the duodenum through the bile ducts. It helps with digesting fats as it forms micelles. Micelles help the small intestine absorb essential fats and vitamins from the liver and gallbladder. And the bile makes smaller lipid droplets, which are known as micelles, and that is called emulsification.
The pancreas is an organ of the digestive system and endocrine system of vertebrates. It is located in the abdomen behind the stomach and functions as a gland. What it does is it regulates blood sugar levels, secreting insulin, glycogen, somatostatin, and pancreatic polypeptides. Secretin triggers the release of the enzymes and compounds. For example, pancreatic amylase helps break down carbohydrates. Pancreas secretes pancreatic juice into the duodenum using pancreatic duct. The juice breaks down carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The pancreas is 12 to 15 centimeters. Oh my god. Edit that out. The pancreas is 12 to 15 centimeters long. It is roughly 5 inches.
The colon is the longest portion of the large intestine, reaching about 5 feet, which is then split up into 4 different parts: the ascending colon, transverse colon, the descending colon, and the sigmoid colon, which is the end. By this time, nutrients have been absorbed, which leaves mostly liquid waste to be released. While there are different nutrients being absorbed, the most relevant one is water, with 95% of it being absorbed. This is very important because water is used in many different ways, such as intestinal juices and bile. If it were absorbed too early, we would become dehydrated, whereas if there was not enough water reabsorbed at the end, it would result in diarrhea. Also in the colon, there are large amounts of bacteria, which is referred to as the flora of the intestine. This bacteria helps to break down cellulose and helps to gain energy for themselves and will produce vitamins and gases. Now, coming to an end of the cycle, the anus contains two sphincters, which are the internal sphincter and the external sphincter. As waste builds up in the rectum, the internal sphincter will involuntarily begin to relax. The external sphincter will then relax once you're in a comfortable location to do so, making it a voluntary function. The rectum is what connects the colon to the anus, which makes it the final connection of the large intestine to the rectum, and this will hold the waste products, which will fill up over a course of a few days, causing the internal sphincter to relax more and more. Once the stool has finally been released, it is now time for the process to repeat itself, starting with consumption of the food in the mouth.
Thank you for listening to our presentation about the digestive system.